So it's Sunday. That means I'm going to be doing a little bit of an editorial. Usually on Sundays, it's either a top 10 video, or I do an editorial. This one is going to be an editorial, and it's going to be a little bit of a rant. I'm not going to go too crazy. However, there have been a lot of articles that I've been reading lately that kind of annoy me a little bit. I'm not going to say I am completely not to blame, because I am a little bit to blame as well. And I actually came to that conclusion as I was writing the notes for this video. So at the end of this video, you'll find out why I'm also to blame. What I want to talk about here is watch movements. Now, I know that sounds kind of boring, but stay with me. This is definitely intriguing. It's not boring. And I'll start with some videos that I've recently made. So recently here on my channel, I made a video where I talked about watches that I thought were overrated. One of those watches, in one of those videos, I included a Japanese brand that I think is pretty popular these days, Ahsoka Low-Tech. Now, I got a lot of positive feedback about that video, but I also received a lot of negative feedback from that video. Even from people that I know, the people in my watch club gave me some feedback that they did not agree with me on the points that I made in that video. So basically in that video, I said that the watches are made well, they feel really nice in hand, they're of good quality. However, I think that they are overpriced because they feature movements that are pretty cheap, like an 8 series Miyota movement and a 9 series Miyota movement. The 9000 series is their higher end movement. It is thinner, but still, if you go on places like eBay, you could buy these movements for around 50 bucks. That 8 series costs around $25. If you went to service one of these movements, they would just throw them away and put a new movement in. The 9000 series is a little bit better, but that 8000 series is so cheap, it literally goes into the trash. Now, why are these watch movements being used in watches that cost $4,000 and currently selling for around $7,000 on the secondary market? Well, that was the question that I was asking. I think those movements are probably a cost-cutting measure. They also make their own in-house modules that sit on top of those movements. You have really cool displays. They're somewhat steampunk, very technical looking. I do like the way they look and I like the way they feel. I just don't understand the choice of movement. Yes, they want to be Japanese, but there are better movements to use than an 8 series Miyota movement. Really, that is my biggest problem with these watches. If you love the watches that I talk about here on my channel, you're really going to love the website that I'm about to tell you about. It's called Wrist Rebels. Wrist Rebels is a website that has all of those small micro brands and independent brands that are really hard to find, all in one place. Brands like Formex, Awake, Martin Designs, and Squale, and many other brands you won't find anywhere else. Definitely check out Wrist Rebels at wristrebels.com. Also check out their Instagram at Wrist Rebels. And if you end up buying something, tell them that WatchChris sent you. However, this is not the most egregious example. I'm going to tell you about a watch right now that I think is insanely priced. Ironically, it's another Japanese micro brand. I think this is a pocket. I think this is actually a problem right now with Japanese micro brands and Japanese independent brands. For some reason, they think that they can charge astronomical amounts of money. Also, think about the tariffs that are on top of these watches if you're importing them into the United States. So if you buy one for $4,000, they end up costing you around $5,000. That's the Ahsoka Low-Tech. The watch that I'm about to tell you about is a little bit more expensive. There's a brand, it's called Tertium Quid. Now, I'm not entirely sure if I'm saying that correct. It doesn't sound like a Japanese name. I'm not sure why they use this name. It's actually, I believe, Latin. That's fine. It's a pretty interesting name, and it's a really good looking watch. I really love the style of this watch. It's very Art Deco inspired. Again, another trend that I see with a lot of Japanese independent brands, inspiration from Art Deco design. And this one gets loads of it. The dial sort of reminds me of a Regepi a little bit, and maybe something from an independent brand here in the United States. It's a little bit of a mixture, and I like it. I think it's a really good looking watch. It's in stainless steel. It gets a sapphire crystal, of course. and it gets an alarm movement. So on its surface, when I saw this watch, until I found out what movement it had inside, I was like, this could be an expensive watch. It could be a very cheap watch. I don't know until I know what movement is inside. What's inside this watch is a vintage movement. It's an A Shills. Now, if you're not familiar with A Shills, they are a movement manufacturer, or were a movement manufacturer that made very affordable movements. They were in watches like a Blancpain 50 Fathoms. I own watches with this movement in it, but they also made movements for Rado and basically every other manufacturer of the time. So in the 1950s and 60s, the chances of finding an A Shills movement in your watch is very good. They were very affordable and pretty reliable. But the key word here is affordable. The specific movement that they're using is the AS1475. It's a hand-wound version of their alarm movement. This is a movement that was used in a lot of different watches. Their automatic movement was used in more, so they made an automatic alarm movement as well. This is a little bit rarer, but still was used by a lot of different manufacturers, including Tissot, Helbros, Girard-Perregaux. All of these watches at the time were not extremely high-end. But they are taking this movement, they are taking it apart, and they are finishing it to what they call high horology. I'll let you be the judge of it. Looking at it, it doesn't look incredibly high horology. It looks pretty nicely finished, but these are just pictures, so I cannot tell for sure. This is definitely not a high-end movement. This is more of a base movement that has been dressed up a little bit. But to give you context, you can get a watch that is functioning, one that is in nice condition with this movement in it, or a version of this movement in it, for around $200. Citizen even used this movement for some time as well, a version of this movement. So you can get one for $200, or you can go on the higher end and get a GP. Those are around $1,000, and that's being generous because usually those are a little bit less expensive than that. So it gives you an idea of watches that sit with this movement and what they cost. So with everything that I've told you, what would you guess the price would be on this watch? Yes, it gets a sapphire crystal, a stainless steel case. It gets an A Shills movement. It's a vintage movement that's been overhauled and refinished. How much do you think this watch would cost? I will give you a minute. Go ahead in the comments section, add your guess down below. And then let me tell you what it is. I'll give you just a few seconds.
A few moments later.
Okay, so if you took a guess, let's see if you are anywhere close to the MSRP. Now, when I first saw this watch and I scrolled down to the bottom of the article on, I think it was Fratello when I was reading this, and I was like, well, this watch has to be around $5,000 because you can buy a Vulcain for $5,000, a Cricket brand new for around $5,000, and that gets a in-house V10 movement that you can see from the back. It's a really nice watch. $30,000. This is a $30,000 watch. That makes absolutely no sense to me. I don't understand the pricing here. It's in stainless steel. You're not getting a gold case. This is a stainless steel case. It's not even titanium. And there's no precious metals anywhere else. They don't remake the movement in gold. It's still in brass. I don't understand the pricing. So my whole point of this video is you need to look at the movement to understand if the price of the watch is justified. And if people are paying over list price for a watch with a very standard movement, you have to ask yourself the question, is this being overhyped? And that was kind of my point about the Ahsoka Low-Tech. Are those watches being overhyped? Why are they going for almost 10 figures in a lot of cases? I also made a video a little while ago where I was talking about pricing in the watch world being bifurcated. On one hand, you have micro brands. Micro brands are really doing a lot. Micro independent brands are really doing a lot and offering you a lot of watch for the money. They're sort of democratizing complications. They're doing everything that they can to give you more for your money. But on the other side, we have these independent brands, these very boutique, like the boutique hotels of watchmaking. They are small, independent watchmakers making very limited quantities, using special materials, and doing really special things. Now, this Japanese watch that I was just talking about is kind of cool. It's a really cool idea. They've used a really cool movement. And I feel like there are a lot of brands going in that direction, just coming up with a price, pulling it out of a hat, and then assigning it to a watch. There are also brands out there that I think are doing the opposite. Brands like Space One. I've mentioned them here on my channel a number of times. Albaschorn. I bring them up often here again on my channel. Ahsoka Low-Tech at retail are okay. I don't think they are good after retail. And I just want to ask one more question. That brand that I was talking about before with the A-Shulls movement, what do you think that watch would sell for on the secondary market? I think it's a really good question because these are going to be very limited. I think they're only making 8 or something like that. A very, very low number. So the demand here might be higher than the supply. Because if there are only 8 made and there are people out there who are willing to spend $30,000 on this watch, maybe if there are 20 people out there that are willing to spend $30,000 on this watch, well then obviously on the secondary market, these could go for more than $30,000. Or maybe people like me will realize that this is really not a well-priced watch, that the price on this is a little absurd, and they'll say to themselves, no, absolutely not. Maybe it'll end up selling for half price. I don't know, but that's a really good question. And I have to say, again, that the Ahsoka Low-Tech, bringing it back to them again, you know, the prices that they sell for, those $7,000 to the $10,000, whatever they're selling for, that's the demand. People are willing to pay for it, and that's the price. That's the market value of those watches. I may not like that, but that's just the case. That's what it is. I'm wrong. That's what they're actually worth. It doesn't matter what movement is inside. It doesn't matter what I think of them. Really, the market price is the market price. So finally, I'll end this video with blaming myself as well. So in the beginning of the video, I'm saying blame these guys who write these articles, blame these influencers who really don't know anything about movements that are inside the watches, and they're talking about these watches as if they are these amazing watches, but they have no idea what the inherent value of the watch is. I do get a little bit disturbed over those sort of influencers, but really I'm also to blame. I have some watches in my collection that are pretty expensive. And I'm going to use my Urwerk as an example. It seems like I pick on my Urwerk. It is one of my favorite watches, but my Urwerk is a Wandering Hour. It has a gold case, so there is some inherent value in that. It's a white gold case, but it has a stock, a base movement. Yes, it's a slightly higher end base movement. It's made by either Girard-Perregaux or Zenith. I think mine is made by Zenith because of the year that it was made in. But is it worth the original MSRP of $73,000? That is absolutely absurd. And on the secondary market, they sell for around $30,000. That is crazy. You would be very hard pressed to find a Zenith that sells for $30,000 on the secondary market, even in full gold. So I think that I even fall into this trap a little bit, or a lot, obviously, because of watches like the Urwerk. But the Urwerk also has some other inherent value to it. It was one of the most important independent watches ever made. It was one of the first real independent brands, and it was the brand that inspired one of my favorite brands, MB&F. So there's a lot that goes into watches and the decisions that we make behind making a purchase, but you get what I'm talking about here. I'm also to blame, or I'm falling into the trap that I am sort of calling out myself. So maybe I'm wrong after all. I think this is all silly. I've said this a million times. I think watch collecting, and when you really think about what we harp over and what we talk over all the time, it is a little bit silly. And you know, the person who makes a video every Sunday to talk about it is probably the silliest. So there you go. I'm definitely calling myself out here. It's all justification because we love these little machines that sit on our wrist. Tell me what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you agree with what I have said here today? Do you have anything to add to what I have said? I've tried to really think through the content in this video, so maybe I missed some points here, so please tell me down in the comments below. I know some people who really like Ahsoka Low Tech and maybe some of the other brands that I've mentioned in this video will push back on me a little bit, and I want to hear what you have to say. Let's keep it friendly down in the comment section. I want to hear everything that you have to say, even your criticisms. Anyway, guys, thank you for logging on. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. Anyway, guys, I'll catch you guys in the next video.